Thanks, Liam. Hi, my name's Chula. I'm an addict. It's nice to be here. Thank you for asking me. And it's a privilege. My first sponsor, he always said to me, if anyone asks you to do a chair, you're not allowed to say no. You have to say yes, and then you figure it out later. And I've stuck with that, even though it drives me mad sometimes. And when you came over and asked me the other day about meeting, I just say yes straight away. And then you went, oh yeah, and it's in West Ham. I was like, on a Friday night as well. So I was working till 5:30, and then I drove down from Swiss Cottage. And I work a 60-hour week, so I'm pretty knackered. But it's a privilege to be asked, and it's what helps me to stay clean, and it's making amends, just doing a chair, and sharing in a meeting and being here. Just a brief story, my story. Eldest of three boys, parents are from Sri Lanka, dad came in the 60s, mum came over a bit later. And then when I was 4, my mum went blind, and it was like a trauma in my family, and it affected me quite a lot. I didn't realise at the time, but it then took me down some difficult roads, and when I was 9, I was sexually abused, and then picked up cigarettes and alcohol straight away at 9.5. And I remember that first puff on a cigarette, and it just took everything, all the pain away. And I decided, oh God, that's great, I'm going to keep fucking doing that. And I was pretty much smoking every day from that point on. When I was 11, I started smoking dope, and by this time I'd got into music. I discovered Metallica, and I was playing guitar and in bands and stuff, and then it just escalated from there. 13, I started selling dope to my mates because nobody could get any. So that meant I had a supply for myself that was pretty much never ending, and ended up, by the time I was 16, I was smoking every day, 24/7, completely stoned out of my mind. And then that went through my teens, more music, more bands, more drugs, the usual lot. And then when I was 20, I switched drums, and I was in a band, and it was kind of Kurt Cobain, the 90s, all that time, and thought heroin would be a good idea, and didn't know I was an addict, and didn't know I was addicted to the drugs I'd already been taking. I thought everything was my choice, and then tried heroin, quickly became addicted, and things went quite steeply downhill from there. So my 20s, band got a record deal, everything was going really well, got put in a really nice studio to record an album, but by this time I was pretty much a hardcore junkie, and it went pretty badly. Band imploded, got dropped, ended up with nothing, and I had no qualifications, no career anymore, no hope, just a heroin habit. Got on the methadone, thinking that would help. Didn't help, just added to it. So then I had daily skunk, daily methadone, daily heroin, and then I guess a lot of the harms that were in my step 8 list come from that period, because I really I started having to steal to fund my habit, and things got worse and worse and worse and worse. When I was 29, I hit a rock bottom, and I just woke up one day, 2003, it's February 2003, and realised, had been trying to stop, and I just realised I couldn't stop on my own. So I decided that I needed to go to rehab and be kind of locked away. I'd been to a few NA meetings, thought everyone was mad, and didn't believe a word of it, but there was something in my unconscious that was connecting, and there was something, I think, I don't hear as much truth anywhere else in any other realm of my life than I hear in these rooms. This is a place where I hear the absolute truth coming out of people's mouths, and I think I connected with that without even realising. And there was a voice in my head going, "You're going to be back here." And then I went off to rehab. June the 12th, 2003, went into rehab. First clean day in 17 years was 29th of June 2003, and I got there, and it hadn't sunk in. Complete abstinence hadn't sunk in. I thought I was going to give up the heroin, the methadone, and still be able to have a drink every now and again. And they said, no, it's total abstinence. I was like, what, are you fucking joking? That's mental. But I soon understood why, you know. And by that time, I was 6.5 stone. I'd still been living in my parents' house. I was pretty ill, physically ill, mentally ill, spiritually ill. And I was just desperate. You know, I was desperate to get clean and be able to stay clean. So I just took all the suggestions. I did what people said to me. They said, you know, go to a meeting every day. I did that for 2 years. Get a sponsor. I did that pretty much straight away. Work the steps, get service commitments, did all of that. Just did it. You know, even though I had all these questions in my head saying, oh, don't do this or don't do that, or that isn't right and that isn't wrong, or I don't believe in this, I don't believe in that. All of that was going on in my head. But someone said to me, put all your judgment to one side and just do it. And then if after a year it hasn't worked, you can go back to using, you know, money back guarantee. And I so I just put my head down and did it, and then it started to work, and I started to not crave anymore, and I started to feel free, and I started to feel like I could actually have a life, and it was pretty amazing. By the time I got to step 8, well, I remember when I was in rehab, my parents came and visited me, and all the guilt hit. So in the last few years of my using, I'd been stealing out of, you know, their wallets and my mum's purse, and, you know, as I said, my mum's blind, and she realised I was stealing out of her purse, so she put a little bell as one of the dog's bells onto her purse, so that if I went into it, she could hear the bell ring. So, and I even got round that. I would literally put my hand over it and then cough as the bell rang, and then take the money out and then put it back right as she was standing there. And I carried a lot of shame around that. My dad, you know, he wore a sarong around the house when he came home from work. So he didn't have any pockets, so he had to take his wallet everywhere. So he would be sat by the TV with a wallet on, you know, the edge of the seat, and then if he went to the loo, he had to take his wallet with him, and if he went and cooked, he had to put the wallet on the shelf, because if he walked away from it, I was in it, and I had the money. And then they would say to me, oh, where's my money? And I'd be like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And it got really tense at home through that, but I felt a lot of guilt and shame around it. And when they came to visit me in rehab, I was just like, I'm so sorry, I can't believe I did that, I'm really sorry. And I thought that's what making amends was. But then when I started working with my sponsor and I got to step 8, you know, he said, you know, that isn't what it's about. It's not about offloading your guilt or soothing your shame or getting rid of the reality of what you did. Your illness might be responsible for the behaviour, but, you know, I am always accountable for the things that I do. And so I wrote the list, and obviously they were at the top of it. And what he got me to do was write a list of all the people who I owed immediate harms to, immediate amends to, and that I would go and actually sit down and make amends to. And then he made me write a list of people who I kind of owed amends to, but they weren't in my life anymore, and if I bumped into them I would make amends, or if it so happened I could make amends to them. And then he made me write a list of people that I owed amends to, but I didn't want to make amends to at all. And I didn't feel that I should have to, you know, because in my arrogance there were quite a few people who I thought, well, they deserved it, they had it coming, you know. So I did these 3 lists, and at the end of my using, I was working at a Virgin Megastore in Brent Cross shopping centre, and it was like free money, man. I rinsed that place, I absolutely rinsed it. And they were on that end list, and I was like, there's no way I'm going back there and giving them any money. And like, Richard Branson's got enough money, like he doesn't need me to pay him back. And my sponsor was like, no, it's not like that, you don't do it like that. Instead you give money to charity. Or you set up a direct debit and you give money back to charity, and that's how you make amends for those kind of harms. And then there were a few people who had done this and that to me who had come up in my step 4, and I'd done stuff to them, and he was like, well, you do owe them amends. They may have done things to you, and they may owe you amends, but at the end of the day, we're accountable for ourselves, and we keep our side of the street clean, and we put the footwork in, and that's what you got to do. So, okay, fair enough. And then the main list really was my family and my close friends. I was really lucky. I had a lot of non-addict friends who had tried to help me, like as I was slipping down the spiral of the heroin addiction. And I remember going out with these guys and they would say, oh, are you still using? I'd be like, no, I haven't used for 2 weeks. And they'd be like, oh, okay, great. And then I'd see them like 3 weeks later and they'd say, have you used again? And I was like, no, I haven't used for 2 weeks. And they're thinking, well, hang on a minute, he said that 3 weeks ago. But I just, I believed all my bullshit when I was using. And I remember this time when we were all at the pub and I went into the loo to use, and I was smoking heroin at that time, and I used, and then I came out, and the black stuff you get on the foil, I'd got it on my hands and I'd touched my face, and I hadn't realised I touched my face. And I went back in and they were like, are you using? I was like, no, I haven't used for 2 weeks. And they were like, are you sure? And I was like, no, I haven't used, I promise. And they were like, go and look in the mirror. So I went back to the loo, looked in the mirror, I had this black mark right down my face like that. And I think, if I remember rightly, I just walked straight out of that pub. I was just so full of shame. And, that might not be the biggest harm in the world, but for those people who really love me, and my family who really loved me, all the lies, all the deceit, all the self-destructive behaviour, it did cause them harm. It caused them a lot of distress. And, the stealing from my parents and then lying, they started to question their own sanity at the beginning before it became obvious. So so that was it. I was writing the list. And in that step it says we became willing. And for me, those spiritual principles of honesty, open-mindedness and willingness, they're the most important things in terms of my recovery. And they're the things that if I can have, someone said to me, I've got like a mentor, a business mentor who's 50 years sober in AA. And he said to me, look, if you never lie about anything, then you don't have to remember anything. You can just live. And integrity is number one for me, and that prevents me from having to get in the position where I make, mistakes and I harm people, and then I have to write another list. But saying that, I'm not perfect either. Like, I still have an instinct to lie. I still can be deceitful, manipulative, and try and get my needs met any which way. And so that's where step 10 comes in, I suppose, and I promptly admit when I'm wrong and I make amends when I have to. But it's not easy. It's not easy, and I feel really lucky to have stayed clean since then. My life has just gone from strength to strength. So like I said, I did a meeting every day for 2 years, did probably 5 or 6 for another 2 years, and 3 or 4 for another 2 years, and then didn't let it drop from there for a long time. And now it's quite a bit less, but what happened was I started working in the treatment field for addiction, and I started working on the front line in like needle exchanges and stuff like that. And then in 2014 I qualified as a psychotherapist and got a private practice, and by that time I met my wife in the rooms, and inherited a stepdaughter through that who was 13 when I first got together with her mum, and now she's about to have twins like any day now. So it's like, I really do believe in the way the program works, and the whole importance of making amends is about, acknowledging that in our addiction we cause harm. As addicts we cause harm. As people we can cause harm. And we have to take account for that. And I have to take account for that. And I have to own my stuff. And I'm, I can make mistakes, but as long as I own them, then it's all right. And as long as I do the right thing, and I operate with honesty, open-mindedness and willingness, then everything's okay. And I can't believe the life I've got today. I've got an amazing job where I get to help people and support people and really use this program and everything I've learnt in it, cheers, knowledge, to help others find recovery of various different kinds. And I am willing today. And this program, like, I know I wouldn't be here without it. I always say that NA saved my life, and then it gave me a life, and then it showed me how to live that life. And if I didn't have it, then I wouldn't be able to function. And my addictions jumped around. Like, I got clean from drinking drugs, but then I got a porn addiction, and then I got addicted to like Blu-ray systems and cinema systems and stuff. And then I got addicted to vaping, and I didn't give up smoking cigarettes for a long time. And now it's sugar, and the behaviour's all the same. It's just all the same. I found myself hiding some chocolate like in the back of a drawer because I didn't want to get caught out. And then my head's going, well, this is just the same. There's no difference to hiding chocolate to hiding heroin, really. I'm still sick. I wouldn't consider myself well. I would say I'm more well than I was, but I'm still sick at the same time. So I have to keep working this program, and I'm working the steps through WhatsApp. My sponsor sends me a question, and then I answer the question, and then he sends me another question, and I can take as long as I want to answer the question. So sometimes I sit with it, even for a month I might sit with the question, but then it's burning a hole in my heart. So then I answer it, and then he sends me the next one. It's been quite an interesting way to do it, actually. And I've been round the steps. This is my 4th time, I think, round the steps. So if there's anyone who's in here who's fairly new, or even if you're not new and you're questioning, do I really need to be here? I don't think you'd be here if you didn't need to be here. And also, if it's not working for you right now, just keep doing it, because it will work for you. Like, when we work it, it works. And, just have the willingness and you'll get there. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.